Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in a valley near a forest, there lived a poor and, allegedly, good little maiden, who still lived with her mother, despite already being in her 13s. They had nothing left to eat, for the economy was shite by medieval standards, due to lockdowns being instigated with the outbreaks of bubonic 19, despite most people working from home back then. And so, ignoring lockdown like an allegedly good child, the girl went into the forest in search of shrooms, because Nintendo had not been invented yet, and possibly in search of wood. During her foraging, she happened upon an old woman who knew all about her poverty and made a gift of pot. The young girl jumped for joy upon receiving pot from this strange old woman, who has already obviously raised some serious red flags, given the fact that she knew all about the child and thus is an obvious stalker and is now trying to get this girl into smoking pot. However, the old woman corrected the young maiden in that it was a cooking pot and was not of the smokable variety. This made stalking the young girl okay, although the girl was clearly disappointed that it wasn't smokable. But she only has her psychedelic trips to blame for that. The old woman instructed the young girl that if she were to say the words, "Cook, little pot, cook," it would cook sweet, sweet millet gruel, and upon issuing the command, "Stop, little pot," it would cease its cooking. Despite the disappointment of the pot being something she could not smoke, the girl's excitement grew again, for the mushrooms she had been eating just prior to her fateful encounter were now giving her the munchies. The girl brought the little pot home, and upon describing what had happened to her in the forest, the mother instantly believed her story, for she was high on mold spores, which had been released through the house, due to the fact that they could no longer afford to purchase cleaning products. The girl missed sniffing cleaning products. Anyway, from that day onwards, they never had to worry about being hungry again, and because they had already devoured the younger boy of the family, as one does when the economy is rough, they could keep all the infinite porridge for themselves. One day, the young girl went out for a time, quite possibly a good time. Mushrooms. She went for mushrooms, and possibly to get some more wood. And her mother had a hankering for some sweet, sweet gruel, because it was the only thing they could afford, because it was free. And pizza is expensive nowadays. She said unto the little pot, "Cook, little pot, cook," and the little pot began to produce porridge. The mother sat there, watching the first batch of porridge appear out of nowhere, and pondered the paradoxical implications this had for the laws of physics. But then she remembered that physics hadn't been invented yet, so that was okay. She ate her fill of the porridge, and then figured she should probably stop the pot from cooking. But alas, she had forgotten what was to be said in order for it to stop, despite the fact they had had this thing for a while, and obviously she had heard her daughter utter the words many times. Truly, she was a special lady. Dread and panic overwhelmed her as she watched the porridge boil over, a constant emotion felt by everyone in the universe and throughout time. She swiftly took out her phone to text her daughter, and by phone, I mean she took out a small piece of parchment and scrawled the words, "Forgot password, how do I log out of pot, lol?" All in uppercase, as gloomers do. The generation named, for it was the Dark Ages. She went to press send, that is, to grab the courier pigeon that came with their data pack, Dark Ages Telecommunications Archaic Pack, before realizing that they had previously eaten the pigeon too. As the whole house filled with boiling hot gruel, the mother reflected on how delicious that pigeon was before being swallowed up by the porridge. The circle of life. Upon returning to town, the girl's eyes met with the curious sight of a community buried under many meters of porridge. It was such a calamity that the town had been purged of the Black Death, because everyone was now dead. The girl cried out, "Stop, little pot!" However, she was out of range, and the pot continued to cook. She realized the only way was to swim back to her house to deactivate the device. Taking a running start, she dived headfirst into the molten porridge, scoring perfect 10s across the board. Her skin melted from her bones, and the porridge was victorious. With nothing left to stop it, the porridge was free to spread its dawning of the age of breakfast and drowned the entire world, becoming the most successful serial killer of all time. And the porridge lived happily ever after. Oh, and it was a sentient life form now.